The Minnesota Timberwolves have been a conundrum since the beginning of the season, mainly because their poor record does not match the preseason predictions. With a good mix of supreme young talent and a proven winner in coach Tom Thibodeau, the fact that the Wolves haven't fared better is head-scratching. Currently, they're 13th in the Western Conference, and while their offense is ranked 11th, their defense is close to the bottom. And what's even stranger is that their net rating in the first half is very good, and then something happens in the third quarter that destroys their lead and their momentum for good. Neither the offense or the defense maintains, and it's a bit of a mystery. That said, there is one thing that has emerged out of all these clips and all this data: the Ricky Rubio shooting problem. And it's not just outside shots either. Looking at his shooting chart, we see he is almost 13 points lower at the rim than the league average, and the low volume of his shooting numbers reveals a player who is not only struggling to make shots, but reluctant to shoot them as well. I don't want to take away from his passing ability. He has very good vision, timing, and accuracy. Among guards who play at least 20 minutes a game and play 20 games, he's 7th in the league in assists and 9th in potential assists per game. But when you watch how teams defend him in the pick and roll, the most popular and useful offensive action in the game, you can see why there's a ripple effect on the team. Watch how Russ can go underneath the screen and then pressure Rubio into a miss at the rim. And he struggles when there isn't as much pressure as well, like with this off-foot layup. And daring him to shoot is also a good idea, since he's reluctant to shoot in the first place, and when he does take them, they tend to miss. It hurts the roll action as well, as the defense sags so much on him that it takes away the passing angles. On this one, not only does he pass up the jumper, but by going under the screen, Beverley contains the drive, Anderson can get back to his man, and open teammates just disappear. There is evidence that he can get to the rim and score with off-foot finishes, and when his man goes under the screen, when he doesn't hesitate and shoots in rhythm without hanging in the air too long, he can knock down some shots. But there's just too much evidence over too many seasons of breaking wide open shots to defend him any other way than to sag way off and dare him to shoot. When his defender decides to go over the screen and trail like he's defending a normal shooter, it opens up good looks to the roll man when the defense gets bent out of shape, as Rubio can put his good vision and timing to use. But why would teams ever defend him this way? When the Hawks doubled him hard, I almost fell out of my chair, since it pulled everybody on the defense needlessly out of position and gives up the Jang dunk. Where this hurts the most is with Karl Anthony Towns, who sets the bulk of the ball screens for Rubio. With both defenders able to sag back without fear of a Rubio score, the only action Towns can really get is the pop for the three. Because Rubio can't get deeper penetration consistently, Towns isn't getting much space to work with, allowing his man to recover more easily to contest his shots. To compound this issue is a lineup problem. Jang almost always dives to the rim on these pick and rolls, clogging up the middle, so there's no room for Towns to use his driving game to get to the rim. He continually is met with a wall of defenders down there because neither Jang nor Rubio are shooters. And while I like the idea of cutting Wiggins to the hoop from the weak side, if the timing isn't perfect, it just serves to clog the middle, relegating Towns to an outside shot. The diving of Jang to the rim with Rubio as the ball handler is basically holding Towns back from being as effective as he can be, and it's got to be frustrating for him to continually see walls of defenders getting in his way because the offense can't generate enough space for easier looks. The question then arises, what can the Timberwolves do? Well, they need only look down their bench for seldom used guard Tyus Jones out of Duke. While his numbers scream small sample size theater, there's enough there to take a look at, and since this season is rapidly falling apart, what does Tom Thibodeau have to lose? For one thing, Jones has the ability to shoot the ball. While his numbers don't bear this out completely, it looks to me like it's simply a matter of not enough opportunity to get his rhythm. His shooting mechanics are very solid, and there is evidence that he has all the shots he needs in his bag, from pulling up over the big to quick release floaters in the guard's face. Sports fans, I want to bring on Sirat Sohi, who just wrote a really great article for us on the .com side on the Timberwolves and what's working and what's not working with their lineup. So, Sirat, thanks for joining us, and kind of give us an overview of what you wrote about for the site.
Thanks for having me on. Just to summarize the article a little bit, the argument is that Tyus Jones should be starting over Ricky Rubio, or at the least getting more playing time than Kris Dunn. I would argue that of the point guards on the Wolves roster, he's definitely the one that has made the best argument for himself to be playing more, and for some reason he's playing the least.
Okay, and interesting for some reason. I guess, is there this romantic notion of Thibodeau simply not wanting to play young guys, or is there anything else that you're seeing?
There's certainly some of that, but at the same time, Kris Dunn is a rookie, and he's certainly a lot sloppier than Tyus. But I think maybe Thibodeau is a little bit more in love with Dunn's defensive potential.
How about this? It's possible that he drafted Dunn and didn't draft Jones. I wonder if that factors in.
Yeah, I think maybe the GM might be getting in the way of the coach a little bit.
It seems like Thibodeau likes to get his lineups and get those rotations set and not deal too much with them, which is unfortunate because at this point of the season, it's over, right? They ain't going to make the playoffs. It's really been a disaster. I'd imagine nobody thought that was going to be this bad. What are you seeing out there with Tyus Jones out there that makes you think that he should play more or play over Rubio?
Well, as much as I like Tyus, it's more a Rubio problem than it is Tyus being good. Now, that's not to denigrate him. What I like about him is that he's a good shooter. He plays disciplined, which means that he kind of just lets Wiggins and Towns and Levine do his thing. When he's on the floor, Wiggins especially has a much higher usage than he does when he's playing alongside Rubio. Rubio is he's been given the duties of creating these shots for the younger players, but I think in a sense it's really just stunting their development, while Rubio himself is, because he can't get separation off of his defenders because he's not a very good shooter and he's not a very good finisher. Teams don't really respect him. He ends up trying to set them up, killing some clock, and then leaving one of them to take care of the rest for the most part.
Do you see any issues on defense with Jones that would really cause him to have him not play?
Not as of yet, and I'll also add that this is all very, very small sample size. Tyus has not gotten to play a lot, but when he has gotten to play with the starters, they've been exponentially better. I think he's disciplined defensively. He's good in Thibodeau's system. He can keep a guy to the sides, away from the middle of the floor, and help in the big men and trapping them in that box, and by using the sideline as well to trap the guard. So, that's something that Rubio has so far not really been very good at. He's a really excellent one-on-one defender, but he's not really great at guarding guards in the pick and roll. He doesn't go over screens very well. So, and he really just if you watch the game against on Christmas against the Thunder, he's letting Westbrook get middle every single time. Mm-hmm. Those are little issues in Thibodeau's system that can kind of just from jump street screw you to till the end of the possession. And another thing I'd add is that Tyus isn't really your average second-year player. He played varsity since he was 13 years old, and he also was a WNBA scout when he was in high school. This is a guy who just lives the game. His parents and his uncle, his brother, they all play college basketball. It's just a basketball family. I think, as far as young players on the developmental scale, he was obviously, if there's anybody that you could peg for being a little bit farther along than most players, it's somebody with that kind of pedigree.
Yeah, and we also saw him in the tournament in March Madness also come up really big in a really pressure situation. Again, when he looked about 14, so I was shocked that he came through just because he just looks like he is over his head. And I remember seeing him in Summer League and thinking, I don't know if he's a legit guard, but there's no question that going through the footage, even though he's playing a lot of these minutes when the games are 11 points or more of a difference, there definitely seems to be a comfort level there where he looks like he's getting more and more comfortable. And so it sounds like you're convinced that this is one of those cases where he simply would need more run with the starters and the top players, and he would improve with more minutes.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but the argument that I make is basically that we've seen enough that we need to see more of it. Like, we've already seen so many good results from it. It is a small sample size, but, you know, the numbers are staggering. You just, especially for a team that's not going to make the playoffs, they have to go to the well there. They have to see if there's anything there.
Absolutely, especially because the alternative right now is a losing record, significant losing record, and this is the time when you can start experimenting. I can't encourage you guys enough to go over to our website and read Sirratt's article, because it really goes into depth and shows some really great stats as well about what's going on with Tyus Jones, and I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and talking about it today. Just watch how much space opens up when running Jones through a pick and roll. Both defenders get drawn to him, and suddenly players can get into the lane a lot easier. And by not having Jang in there, you can see how the rim just opens up and allows the roll man much more space from Jones pulling the defenders out of the way. It doesn't take much of a discerning eye to see that teams simply guard Jones a lot differently than Rubio, worried about his ability to shoot, and it opens up easier shots on the pop for Towns. And his gravity absorbs more attention to allow for Bjelica to find his spot on the wing. Simple pass, simple splash. With Rubio, the screener's man doesn't have to step up at all, but in Jones's case, watch how the defender gets both feet above the three-point line before trying to get back to Towns. Too late. It's the same thing here, and with Aldridge in there, he has enough sense to at least get out of the lane to give Towns more room. So there you have it, sports fans. While Rubio does provide good veteran leadership and decent assist numbers, there's a cascading effect to playing a guy who's a non-threat to score from most places on the court, and it's frustrating to see that it's probably hurting Karl-Anthony Towns' development as well. The real focus should be on the future for the Timberwolves, and it just feels to me like that version of the Matrix doesn't contain Ricky Rubio.